What's up, everybody? Wes Hotkwitz here, joined alongside Mike Spofford, Packers Preview, presented by Microsoft Surface, here to preview. I cannot believe we're back here again. It seems like we were literally just here yesterday getting ready for the 49ers game. But hey, the Packers are playing the Miami Dolphins on Thanksgiving, 7:30 p.m. Central Start Time, a game that'll be, I believe, on NBC.
Correct.
If I remember correctly.
7:20.
7:20 start time.
Just so people don't miss the beginning.
Maybe it'll be 7:20. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, I'm Wes. He's Mike. 5.5 minutes ago, I was talking to O'Reilly Gilliam out in the hallway, and here I am now, getting ready to preview the Packers and the Dolphins.
Here we
once
go.
again.
Here we go.
We will be taking all of your questions on Facebook, X, and YouTube. You can submit those there. Our wonderful social media team will send those through to me. But before we get started, Mike, we got the injury report of estimations a few minutes ago.
It's been all estimations
all
this week.
estimations all the time this week. We do know for the Green Bay Packers, 3 players are out, 3 players are questionable. On the outside, unfortunately, Romeo Doubs, dealing with the concussion, is going to miss this one, along with Jaire Alexander and Edgerrin Cooper for the second straight week. On the questionable front, John Fitzpatrick, dealing with a back injury. He is questionable, along with Isaiah McDuffie and Josh Myers. I will say the positive sort of lean to that is that Myers was upgraded to a full participant in the estimation on Wednesday, and Isaiah McDuffie, who was estimated as a non-participant on Monday and Tuesday, is now estimated as a limited participant. So some good news there potentially. You know, unfortunately for Josh, he's been dealing with the wrist, now dealing with the pectoral injury. Kind of goes with the nature of the position, and you just kind of have to deal with it, especially on a short week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always something to deal with, right? I mean, as you said, the signs are sort of trending in the positive direction, both with McDuffie and with Myers. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, no surprise necessarily with regard to Alexander, Cooper, and Doubs. I think that was pretty much expected. On a short week, those guys weren't going to make it.
Miami had a very lengthy injury report, but only 3 players are out. 1 player is questionable. That player is left tackle Terron Armstead, still going strong now, 12 years into his NFL career. Tyus Bowser, linebacker, and also Anthony Walker, 2 big linebackers for them, are out for this one, along with Kendall Fuller, dealing with a concussion, was not able to go in this one either. All right, you want to answer some questions?
Why not?
Why not? We're getting paid. We might as well earn some of it. Okay, Israel Ramirez, this is on YouTube. With Jaire out for this game, we need our defense to step up. Michael, they did that on Sunday against a backup quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa, a different beast.
Yeah.
Obviously, this offense, a much different, much faster, much more dangerous group, especially with that quarterback available. Packers will have to kind of get through this once again with Jaire and without Jaire, and certainly they turn to the sum of the whole with the amount of defensive backs they used in that game against the 49ers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, the 49ers had all of their weapons, those main guys, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, but they didn't have their quarterback. It's a different set of weapons with Miami, because you're talking about the speedy receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, a big play type of tight end in Jonnu Smith, who's having really a career year, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And then a really speedy running back in Devon Achane. So this offense is all about speed. They're going to try to run away from you. They're going to try to make you chase them, and the Packers are going to have to do something to slow them down.
I'm glad you said that, Mike, because it makes for a perfect transition into the question on YouTube that Jacob Miller just asked. The Dolphins' run game is super dangerous. Not just dangerous, super dangerous. What does Green Bay have to do to limit their speedy backs?
I mean, I've been saying it all week long, and it's not to state the obvious too often, but it's about tackling. I mean, these guys are going to get their yards. The question is, are they going to get the yards in 4, 5, and 6 yard chunks, or are they going to break tackles and get the yards in 15, 20, and 25 yard chunks? So if you tackle well, make them go the long way, make them kind of take a long, slow slog down the field, you give the defense a chance to force a mistake, whether it's a penalty, whether it's just a TFL, a sack, maybe a turnover. The longer they take to get down the field, the more you have a chance to force a mistake. But if you don't tackle well and short plays rupture into big plays, then you're going to be in trouble.
Taro Vision on YouTube. Packers having frozen tuna for Thanksgiving. Because it's tundra, except it's tuna, and they're dolphins.
I get it.
So like, okay.
I get it,
All
Wes.
right.
Yeah.
Frozen. Okay. Score prediction from Zaire Zaman, who is asking for our score predictions, which we do not give.
No.
But his prediction is Miami versus Packers. I think the Packers will win 28-20. Zaire, we will find out soon enough. All right, Camden McManus on YouTube as well. Hey guys, what is your favorite Thanksgiving food? Mine is ham and cornbread and rice, and dessert is pumpkin pie. I am with you on the pumpkin pie front. Would you like to start this answer?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving for sure. I mean, I'm kind of traditional. I like the turkey and cranberries and stuffing and gravy and all that. Like, it's all good, man.
There is only one item of Thanksgiving dinner. It was funny, I was talking with the interns about this beforehand, because it's a recurring joke that I don't like cheese.
Right.
The beautiful thing about Thanksgiving is it's very hard to incorporate any type of cheese into Thanksgiving. Some people do mac and cheese.
Yeah,
my
people
household
do.
does not.
Some people do cheesy potatoes, but most people, I shouldn't say most. It's either if you do potatoes, you do cheesy potatoes, or you do mashed potatoes with gravy.
Which is what I do.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's only one thing. I'm curious to see what you think of this. There's one thing on the item, the one menu item I will not eat on Thanksgiving, and it is green bean casserole.
See, and that's like my favorite.
See, I did that because I knew that was going to set him off. Here's what's funny though. You ready
I
for
love
this
green
one?
bean casserole. I really only have it on Thanksgiving. I look forward to it every year.
The interns and everybody, they're going to have so much fun with this because I am such a walking contradiction. I don't like green bean casserole, but do you know what I enjoy on its own? Green beans. Any kind of green beans. French cut, like, they have all the different types,
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
I enjoy green beans. I just don't want it in a casserole. I'll do the corn with the crumbs and all that stuff. That's cool with me. But I love Thanksgiving. It's actually my favorite holiday. For people that don't know, I have my own traditions.
And that we agree on.
We do agree.
Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday.
You don't have to give presents. The family interaction is somewhat contained. You don't have to really interact with them if you don't want to. You can always have a good excuse. And if worst comes to worst, you just be like, hey, tryptophan's hitting me. I'm falling asleep now. A fantastic out. And you don't have to give presents. Like it is. And tonight, my big tradition is I always watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles the night before Thanksgiving.
That is
not the day of, the night before.
Okay.
Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah.
Which is very important to me.
I've always loved
this holiday.
I've always loved Thanksgiving because it's about three things: family, food, and football.
Yep.
It makes it the best holiday. It is the holiday with the least amount of obligation. I
like
guess
that.
I'll say it that
Yep.
way.
And it has the best music too. All right, Renee Gabriel. That's like Ron Burgundy. Like, I am Ron Burgundy. I just said.
Yeah.
And I messed it up too. Renee's gonna get mad at me. Oh no. All right, sorry, Renee. She submitted this over to me. It's a question from Brian Clement, and Brian says, "What is your favorite Packers Thanksgiving memory?"
Oh wow, favorite Packers Thanksgiving memory.
Gabrielle, by the way. No, I got it right the first time, Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, last year was pretty special. I have to say that. But going sort of further back in the memory banks. I mean, I still remember as a kid the Walter Stanley long punt return game. I think it was '86. Shootout game at the old Pontiac Silverdome, and that was pretty special. That's a fun one. I'll always remember especially the ending to that game.
I'll be honest with you, Mike, and I don't have a lot of other than just like the spending time with my family, playing football at halftime in the backyard of my grandparents' house. Like those type of things mean a lot to me. But as it relates directly to vivid memories and positive memories, I think last year's actually going to be pretty high on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, the Packers went down, they saved their season. I understand it's probably a somewhat form of recency bias, but Packers really needed that win last year. And if they don't get it, they don't potentially make the playoffs. And for them to be able to go down there and play as well as they did, and for us to be able to get back and spend some time with the families afterwards, that was a really neat flight home, and one I just kind of enjoyed altogether.
Yeah, it was. That was a good one.
All right, a couple more minutes again. He's Mike Spofford. I believe I'm still Wes Hodkowitz. Packers Preview brought to you by Microsoft Surface here. If you want to try to submit your questions, X, Facebook, and YouTube, you can do that there. This question is from Theory on Facebook. Am I wrong thinking that Javon Bullard is finally finding his footing in the slot? Mike, I thought last week was his best game so far as a Packer.
I would agree with that. I think he's been been pretty solid in that spot.
Yeah, right.
You know,
I thought he had a really good game last week.
Yeah, I think he did, and it's kind of what you expect from a rookie, you know, a young guy like that you know has a lot of talent, and it is a position that he played in college.
Correct.
It's not like the Packers just threw him in there and he's been, you know, learning it from scratch in that regard. But it is interesting how, you know, that move has created a domino effect in terms of how the Packers play defense now, because Keyshawn Nixon, you know, with Bullard taking over in the slot, Keyshawn Nixon is now the #1 boundary cornerback on this team when Jair Alexander has not been able to play. I don't think any of us would have necessarily thought that at the beginning of the season, that's how things would line up in this type of scenario. But you know, hats off to both of those guys. Both Bullard and Nixon, you know, have been getting it done.
In Israel Ramirez, I'm not meaning to put you on blast here because it's going to sound like it in my response, and I'll try to be as kind as I can be. And this question is off YouTube because I addressed this in inbox yesterday. Is there a reason we are not seeing Kraft get more touches? Every time he gets the ball, he makes a play. I do not disagree with you on that. But I find it funny that this has become kind of a narrative lately, and I don't know if it's fantasy football related. I don't know what it is, but one, literally, Tucker needs one more catch to already tie his output from last season. Two, he became the first Packers tight end to have multiple catches in 17 straight games since in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
He had 55 receptions in his first 25 games, which is also the best. Like, Tucker Kraft has been super involved in this offense. Now, the construct of the actual scheme is not predicated in most cases on somebody getting 10 targets a game. But, I mean, Tucker Kraft is exactly what the Packers need him to be, and he currently leads the team with 6 touchdown receptions.
Yeah, that to me, that's the thing, is where Tucker Kraft has done the yeoman's work this season in terms of the passing game is in the red zone. And anywhere else on the field, the guy is a heck of a blocker, and he's been a huge part of Josh Jacobs' success when the Packers are keeping the ball on the ground. So, yeah, he's not putting up Travis Kelce numbers of like 7 catches for 85 yards like every week. But as you said, that's not how this offense is built. The tight end is not going to get that many targets in a given game. But yes, you have to realize, when you say when the Packers go to him, he makes a big play, well, that's partly because they're not trying to throw it to him 10 or 12 times a game. So you know, that has to be part of the equation as well.
I'm blown away by the amount of questions we're getting. If anybody if we don't answer the questions because we may run out of time, go to Insider Inbox and submit these, because I'm running out of questions for Inbox right now. It's been a slow day with Inbox, but there's plenty.
Well, maybe you just pull some off
your
phone and put them in Inbox.
Danny from Facebook.
Yeah, there you go.
Instead of Danny from wherever. Cam 1000 just got done watching Unscripted. Crazy. Yeah, real crazy. Michael from YouTube. Who will we see more Thursday night with Romeo Doubs still being out with the concussion?
I think we're going to see more of both Dontavian Wicks and Malik Heath. I mean, that's how the Packers finished the game against the 49ers in the second half there when Doubs was out. We saw Wicks make a big play, 25-yard grab over the middle. It was actually, I don't know if I want to say exactly the same, but a very similar deep in-cut route that Romeo Doubs had run earlier in the game. Wicks ran it in the fourth quarter and moved the chains there, and then we saw Malik Heath end up finishing that drive with 2 receptions, the second one being the touchdown on the fade. So I thought that was, considering the short week and figuring that Doubs is probably not going to be back from the concussion soon enough for this game, the fact that both of those guys made a contribution at the end of the San Francisco game, I think that bodes well here moving into the Miami game.
Prince on YouTube, I'll just take this one, Mike. You don't have to, and I'll get you the next one. Aren't you allowed to protect up to 4 practice squad players from being signed away each week, or has that changed? Is there any way we see what players are being protected week to week? So I'm guessing this is because of Jamin Davis signing with the Vikings that you're asking this. First off, no, that actually is no longer a thing. That was a thing during COVID, because if you had to protect, basically the main idea there was, especially with the idea potentially that you could lose anybody at any given time,
Yeah.
They wanted to make it so that you couldn't just sign away a team's backup kicker, because it wasn't just the fact they wouldn't have a kicker. It was the time in which they have to actually be in the building and be testing positive or negative for COVID while being in that protocol. That's why it worked out that way. So that went away, I think, in 2022. When that did happen, you could actually see on the wire every week who was being protected by the teams in which they're protecting them. I believe they had to do that on Mondays. You got to protect up to 4 players. The Packers actually didn't do it as often as many teams would just protect 4 players every week. Packers didn't do that. I'm guessing, and again, I am just speculating here, that you're kind of showing your hand a little bit about the practice squad players you like the most if you're trying to protect them. I think that was one thing you have to be somewhat leery of.
Yeah.
Stephen Day on YouTube. Do you think Jordan is going to have another clean game? The Dolphins have Ramsey, and I think he is going to be a big challenge, but also given up a few big plays. I think off the top of my head, Mike, the Dolphins have 7 interceptions this year, and I believe Ramsey's the only one with multiple.
Correct.
The Packers have to play clean. They have to stay out of, in favorable down and distance. You have to avoid the penalties, and certainly you have to avoid the turnovers. This is a team during this recent stretch that the Dolphins have been on, and they haven't been beating the Kansas City Chiefs of the world, but I mean, they're getting wins and they're getting convincing wins, and I think a lot of that has been because they're protecting the football and also what the damage they're doing when they do take it away.
Yeah. The first thing that you see statistically with the Dolphins defense when it comes to the takeaways is that they have 6 different guys who have had an interception this season. Now, one of them, I believe, is Anthony Walker, who will not be playing in this particular game. But they have a lot. They do have a lot of guys who have picked passes off, and as you said, Jalen Ramsey has 2 interceptions for them. So yeah, you definitely need to be mindful of that. But I wrote a story yesterday that this to me is what's really important right now about the Packers offense and hopefully what it means moving forward. The last 2 games since the bye week, the Packers offense has turned the ball over only once, been flagged for only 4 penalties, and has converted 8 out of 10 red zone opportunities into touchdowns. All of those areas, interceptions, penalties, and red zone, have been trouble spots throughout the first couple 2.5 months of the season. If those things are starting to trend in the right direction for this Packers offense, that's going to bode well here for the stretch run.
Absolutely. Hey guys, this is from Jeremy Hadler on YouTube. Hey guys, hope you have a great Thanksgiving. I was at the Packers game this past Sunday and it was awesome. What has impressed you guys with Matt LaFleur so far this season?
I think it's just been the adaptability. Not only dealing with Jordan Love's injuries and having Malik Willis have to start 2 games, and then Willis having to finish the game in Jacksonville, which the Packers also, fortunately were able to win. But the way we've seen the offense, change and evolve with Josh Jacobs as the feature back now, as opposed to maybe the way it looked with Aaron Jones in the past. Matt LaFleur has an offense, has a system that he likes to run, but he really is one of those coaches who is constantly adapting and adjusting his offense to the strengths of his players, and that's why it doesn't always look the same from year to year, because the cast is going to change. And we've seen over the last couple years with the change at quarterback, now a change at running back, lots of change at wide receiver over the last couple years. Things have constantly been changing, and Matt LaFleur continues to evolve, and this offense continues to produce no matter who's involved with it. And I think he and the offensive staff, Adam Stenavich, all those guys, Jason Vrabel, they all deserve a lot of credit for that.
Last 3 questions here. This one was from Mace. When was the last time the Packers won at Green Bay? Can you guess? I have the answer, but can you guess?
What?
When was the last time? I'm sorry, the Miami Dolphins have won at Green Bay.
Oh yeah, that was it was an overtime game in 2010.
Give me the score. Give me the score.
23-20.
Look at that guy. Do you know who the quarterback was for the Dolphins?
Oh.
See if I can really put your mind to the test.
I should know.
This is for the extra credit.
Yeah,
it's like when you get 100%, they give you like +2 on the sheet. You're going to kick yourself when I tell you to.
Chad Henne?
It was Chad Henne.
Got it.
Yeah, it was Chad Henne.
There we go.
I'll give you 1 point for that.
Okay.
Not the 2. I'll give you 1.
All right, thanks.
Okay, this question, this is kind of interesting. Dan Keller on YouTube. How many carries should the Packers limit Josh Jacobs this week, and how should they split the load with the other running backs? I don't know if you necessarily have to limit the carries. Like, I thought one thing that was very important to note with the injury report this week, last week, I believe it was the quad he had, and it was in a calf. This week, he did not actually have anything on the injury report. It was a veteran rest deal.
Yeah.
Now, certainly, he had 26 snaps. He just went over 200 carries for the season. You do want to be cognizant of that, especially if you're going to make a deep playoff run here. But I don't know if it necessarily has to be a limited thing. I will say, I wonder if this is a game where potentially we see more of a Chris Brooks series or a Manuel Wilson series. When the Packers had both Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, you would see those guys take an entire series. It seems like we're mostly seeing Josh Jacobs every series. It's just a matter of when you're subbing him out.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, Josh Jacobs is the key cog in this engine as far as the perimeter weapons, and I think the Packers have to give him as much as he can handle. And you have to trust Josh Jacobs to say, hey, when you need to come out of the game, when you need a breather, like, be honest about it. Let us know. We have other guys, but Josh Jacobs is a special player, and he needs to continue to get the ball.
I don't think you need to limit his touches. I will say he had 19 carries in the first half against San Francisco. That was a little bit.
Right. That's a lot. That's a lot for one half of football. But then it's not like it was doubled. He ended up just having 7 more in the second half.
Donald Ash on Facebook: speedy running backs should be slowed down by the frozen tundra. Potentially, that's one thing. I mean, to give away a little bit of a spoiler with the Final Thoughts video, it's cold weather. The Packers practice in it. They play in it. They're prepared for it. You have to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, we shall see. I mean, as I've said, I'm going to be very interested to see if the surface has any impact on the Dolphins at all, because this team just in January played an absolutely Arctic, frigid game in the playoffs in Kansas City. All those guys remember that. They know what it felt like. I just don't think 20 degrees is really going to bother them that much, even though it's obviously 80 in South Florida.
Your girl Doris Pringle on Facebook: is it potatoes or potatoes?
Oh, it's potatoes.
Potatoes. Potatoes?
No, it's potatoes.
Potatoes.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right. Green Bay Packers Game Day program sponsored by Weston Hodkowitz. This week's cover will be Tucker Kraft, TJ Slayton, and Josh Myers. Knock on wood, Josh will be out there. Again, he was a full participant, so hopefully that bodes well for him. Be sure to pick that up. Tucker Kraft having a fantastic year for the Packers. Gets the centerpiece there. Also, the feature that I wrote on him. Be sure to check that out. Michael, the Green Bay Packers at 8-3 host the 5-6 Miami Dolphins. It is a 7:20 p.m. Central Start Time on NBC. The Green Bay Packers come out of this game with their 9th victory if
they tackle well. You got to tackle well, because that's what limits the explosive plays for an offense that is built on explosive plays. This is what the Miami Dolphins do. You got to take away what they do best.
So we just did one of these 58 minutes ago. We just knocked out another one. I will remind you, we do have a ton of stories, content, videos, tremendous stuff on both Packers.com and the Packers mobile app. I wrote a story that posted today on the Packers offensive line, kind of digging in a little bit into the details of this group. The fact that the Packers are the only team right now that has had an offensive line featuring all of their draft picks starting every game this season. Also, the only team that currently lists 3 offensive linemen from the same draft class in their starting lineup, and that is Rasheed Walker, Zach Tom, and Sean Ryan. Mike Spofford, tons of content up there as well, looking at some of the Packers' offensive stuff, and then his One Last Look column will be up on our website as well on Thursday. Be sure to check that out as you're eating your turkey roll. He is Mike Spofford. I'm Wes Hodkowitz. We thank you, as always, for joining us on Packers Preview, brought to you by Microsoft Surface. And until next time, for Mike, I'm Wes. Happy Thanksgiving.